It's going down. Shalom. First and foremost, giving all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity, while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And welcome to another series of It's Going Down, being brought to you by the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Inflation will price many Americans out of housing into homelessness. Woo! Barakatah Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. As you can see right here, there's a picture of homeless people. So let's read this good information. This article has been written by Brandon Smith and originally published at Birch Gold Group. One of the most detrimental aspects of an inflationary and stagflationary, which if anybody is familiar with America's economy, they said in a last news article, which will probably be about 3 weeks from now, that the economic system of America was in a state of stagflation. Now, for those who don't know, stagflation is similar to recession, but it is not the same as a recession. Stagflation is basically, how do I put it? Stagflation is basically, in simple terms, it is where a economic system is getting ready to collapse because of the lack of GDP. GDP is the acronym for GDP. No. DGP. Salakia. Excuse me. DGP, which is an acronym for domestic gross production. That is when an economic system produces more than it consumes. America is in a state where it consumes more than it produces. So, because the DGP, excuse me for the burp, because the DGP is doing bad, right? Because it is falling below the percentage that it is supposed to produce, guess what's happening? The economic system is destabilizing. And when that happens, that causes a recession. What is a recession? A recession is a slowdown in economic activity. When there is a recession, there is a rise in unemployment. There is a rise in the lack of financial activity. The government is unable to lend more to the economic system, so these different jobs and corporations around the world can perform their duties. So this country is actually in a recession. The stagflation of this country led itself into a recession. And a recession can lead to a depression. A depression can lead to a Great Depression. Now, what is a depression? A depression is when a economic system collapses. And basically, people are unable to provide for themselves. Because of that, people are protesting because they cannot afford food, they cannot afford gas, they cannot afford clothes, they cannot afford accessories, they cannot afford toilet paper to wipe their butt. Now, a Great Depression is far worse than a depression. In a Great Depression, the U.S. government is in a deep financial doodle hole. Okay, shit hole, for a lack of a better terms. And not only that, but in a Great Depression, a country is at the mercy of another country financially, economically. In a Great Depression, prices will skyrocket through the roof. In a Great Depression, a loaf of bread, you will find a loaf of bread that will cost $15. How much more chicken, turkey, ham, beef, lamb, goat, etc., etc.? How much more those? Your canned goods, which used to be 75 cents, will skyrocket. They used to be 75 cents, but now they are what? $5 a can. And I'm not talking about those big cans. I'm talking about them small cans. Those small cans, those small canned goods you people like to buy, they're going to skyrocket up to $5. Who can afford that? So that's going to lead to protests. And you know what? That is prophesied in the Holy Scriptures. Let's get that. 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 14. The word woe goes back to the Hebrew word abadium, which means destruction. 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. Let's click on verse 15. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Right? The Babylon, America's Babylon, so you can understand. Okay? The destruction of Babylon draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Okay? Now, this is talking about race wars, but on the other hand, this is also talking about civil wars. Civil war is on the rise here in America. Not only because of these mass shootings and the U.S. government pushing for gun control laws so they can justify themselves in using the UN, which is the NWO army, to move in on the people and basically take their guns away from them forcibly, which will lead to what? That will lead to shootouts, people rebellion, people rioting and protesting. Okay? So swords in their hands. And what does the word sedition mean? The word sedition means a rebellion or an uprising against the government. For there shall be sedition among men. There shall be a uprising or rebellion against the government among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Well, there you have it. So this is going to lead to civil wars. This is going to lead to an economic collapse. Okay? One of the only exemptions to this rule is when the government institutes rent or price controls. In Weimar's Germany, for example, the government enforced strict regulatory controls on landlords, fixing at the rate that made profits impossible. I mean, that's pretty much all I need to read there, man. I will put the link in this article in the description so you can read it for yourself. With that, I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one.